Hello. Like every Friday, today is a testing day in the Ubuntu community, but this time it will be a little more relaxed than usual because we will be playing games here with our guest star Alan Pope. So let's first introduce ourselves. I'm Leo Arias. I do testing and quality on Ubuntu. And Cal, your turn.
Yeah, I'm Kyle Fazzari. I'm on the Snapcraft team, so my focus revolves around snaps and the Snap developer experience.
And I'm Alan Pope, and I'm a Snap advocate, so I go around telling people why they should snap their stuff.
So today we are missing Siga because he's on holidays, but he might appear or not during the call. For people new to the space, Ubuntu testing days try to be an open, inclusive, and safe space to invite new people to contribute to free software projects. And we do it on Fridays because on Fridays developers are less grumpy. That's an universal truth. And I'm really excited.
Yes,
I'm really excited about this. So take a look. I even got a shirt with Pac-Man Phantoms. So let's start. Alan, do you want to talk a little?
Yeah, so I thought I might mention MWC, given I've just got back from there. My voice is a little bit hoarse because I've been talking for 4 days. We had an Ubuntu stand, and it was massive, really, really big. For us, if I look around MWC, it's mostly gigantic multi-billion-dollar corporations like Huawei and Samsung and HTC
right.
and Nokia, and their stands are gigantic, really it's a town inside MWC. But ours was we held our own with our size stand. It was really
I'd
good.
love to see some pictures if you have any.
Yeah, there's some were tweeted out by the Ubuntu Twitter account. So if you get a
okay, I'll check that out.
Ubuntu, there's a bunch there.
The stand was really pretty.
It was really nice, really nice and bright, and it kept you awake, which was really needed. And it had a nice soft carpet as well, which was good underfoot as well. So they had loads of demos around from partners. So it wasn't just stuff we've been doing; it's stuff other people have been doing. So the Screenly guys were there showing their digital signage stuff. And we had Frank from the Nextcloud team, Frank Karliszek from the Nextcloud team, dropped by and was hanging out on the booth quite a bit. And we had a demo of Nextcloud running on a home router type device. We had a couple of Dell devices there, the Dell Edge gateways, the one from last year, and the new one, which is tiny. It's this big. I really expected it to be massive, but it's just a tiny little device. Some stuff from Intel there. Loads of other demos. IBM were there, and had some nice facial recognition stuff, which was really, really cool. They had an elevator demo where if a robber is detected by the camera system, then it could stop the lift or take the lift to the security floor or phone the police or something. In the example, it just lit up a red light that spun around. But it was really quite cool because the guy had a mask that looked like a robber. Looked like he got a ski mask pulled on, and so when he showed that, the thing just started the red light straight away. So it was really quite cool, showing off some of the stuff people do with Ubuntu Core and with snaps on top of that. And I think Leo's got some photos from the Twitter feed. They had robots as well. Robots were cool this year again. So that was
we're cool again. Well, and we won an award, right?
I think we won a couple of awards actually.
Oh, did we? I only heard about the Convergence one.
Yeah, that one, and then some other guys bought an award to show us, and I know Claire was carrying an award around in a bag. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Good.
Great, yeah, congratulations.
There was some guys from Daiquiri there who had a HoloLens style helmet thing where you just put the thing on and you get a projected image in front of you, so you can still see through the screens.
That's cool.
Around you, so you're not looking like a complete doofus like everyone on the Samsung.
Except you still probably look like a complete doofus.
Well, there is a bit of that.
Did you wear it, Alan?
No, I refrained because as soon as you put it on,
Because he knew he looked like a complete doofus.
Yeah.
everyone takes a photo of you as soon as you put it on. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna let that happen. But yeah, it was cool demos. It was really good. And we were there. We had a little stand. It was myself, Martin Wimpress, Evan, and Jamie were talking to people about Snapcraft and snapping their applications. We were giving some demos of some new stuff that we've done. We've got a build service that we've been demonstrating. So it was really, really good. So yeah.
Thanks a lot, because after talking the whole week every day, you are here talking even more. So
No,
we appreciate that a lot.
it's cool. I've had a lot of practice. My voice is nicely running this week.
You talk a lot usually. It's
Yeah.
good. So Alan has been working on some frameworks to package games as snaps, and he has some cool things to show us.
Yeah. So shall I just crack on with some like demos and stuff, and you can just like interrupt me if you want? And,
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, also for the people on the chat on ubuntuonair.com, remember that you can make your question at any time. We will interrupt and we will ask Alan, or if you have something else you want to discuss, just say it there.
Cool. So the first one I wanted to mention is this guy, Oh My Giraffe, and I found this game via the Love2D website. And for those that don't know, Love2D is a framework for developing games. Now, hopefully you can see my screen okay.
Yeah, it looks good. The screen frame rate isn't that great, but that's all right.
Okay. I'll try and keep moving it slowly then. So if you go to love2d.org, you can find out more about what Love2D is. It's based on Lua, and it's a great, easy way to make 2D games. And there's a whole bunch of games that have been made with it. They're really friendly people. You can drop by their IRC channel on oftc.net. And I discovered Oh My Giraffe because it was linked from the front page of their website. And I thought, wouldn't it be good if we had a couple of games based on Love2D in the Snap Store as inspiration for others, so that they can bring their games to Ubuntu users nice and easily. So I had a look at packaging up Oh My Giraffe as an example, because they had a free download on their website for Linux desktop. So if you go to ohmygiraffe.com, you'll find that there's a link to the Linux version here. And this is one of the things I think that Snapcraft and Snaps can help people with, is if I go to this website and I download, then what I actually end up with is a .love file. Now, if you know Love, you know what a .love file is and you know how to use it, but it's a bit abrasive for new people to be able to download to want to download a game and have to download this file and then go and get some other runtime thing somewhere else and then use the command line to run the thing, when it's much easier if you could just find those games in the Ubuntu software store. Or if you're a real hardcore command line person, you could like type snap install and then the thing. So I wanted to make it easier for game developers to get their games in the store, and make it easier for people who want to play games to find the games that are in the store. So that was the motivation why I did this. So yeah, you can see there's a link there, and I could download the game. Technically speaking, a Love game is all the Lua and all the assets are zipped up in a zip file and then renamed to .love. So if you had a look at that .love file, it's basically a zip file, right? But you need Love itself, which is Love2D, the runtime part, to actually run it. What I did,
does Love actually unzip that then, or are you supposed to unzip that and then hand that to Love? Does it make sense?
Actually, you can do it either way. You can just say Love and point it at the Love file, or if you're doing prototyping during development, you don't want to have to zip it up in order to run it. So you can just run Love and point it at a directory that has all the Lua files in it, and it looks for one particular file called main.lua. So long as main.lua is in the root of the zip or in the root of the directory you point to, it'll just run. So let me show you what I did. Let's use a decent editor that will show you what I did. So that's not the window I want. Sorry if it's a bit slow. I'm on Wi-Fi and Hangouts tend to eat my laptop alive. So let's look at the YAML first. It's a bit bulky.
Can you blow it up a little bit?
Yep. How's that?
Yeah, that was good.
So we've got the usual metadata at the top. The name, the version number, and a short description of the application. And then we've got the confinement model that we're using. Now, we recommend that people use strict confinement because then one application can't interfere with another. And I wanted to make sure that this was strict so people could be sure that the game's not doing anything nefarious. And, not that this developer would, I'm sure, but we wanted to have these applications strictly confined so we get the benefits of the security policy of Ubuntu Core and Snaps. And I wanted to be able to upload this to the store as a stable snap that anyone could easily discover. So I put the grade as stable. Now I'm going to skip down to the bits in order of how I built them. So down here, we have a bunch of parts. So starting at line 20, you can see it says parts. And the first part is actually the game itself. And in this example, I actually dropped the game into a directory called OMG. So in my terminal, if I zoom this in a little bit and look in OMG, there's actually the love file in there, right? There's that ohmygiraffe.love, which is the one that I got from the website. And I'm using the copy plugin here, and I realize that's like old and depreciated now, and I should really change that to the dump plugin.
Yeah, it works.
But yeah, it works. And in fact, I could do that. I could just change that to dump and it would mostly work. And I would probably just remove the file section and everything would be fine. So all this is doing is just copying the game into the snap, right? That's easy. But what it also needed was a particular version of Love. Now, Love have put out a bunch of releases over the years, and some people target a specific version of Love. So you can't just use the version of Love that's in the archive or whatever the latest version or the most recent version built from Git. You need to use a specific version. And this particular game needs Love 0.9. And there's a Bitbucket account that's run by one of the Love2D developers. And he's made available debs for Love itself and the other parts of Love that go in this library called liblove. So there's two parts that are needed in order to make this game work. One is Love itself, and the other one is liblove. And so I've just got these two parts, and all they do is point to these two debs. And when I run Snapcraft, all it's going to do is go and grab those two debs and unpack them, splat them into my snap. So by this time, I will have the game and the runtime parts, Love and liblove. Now, that's not
This
quite
is a terrible session because I'm playing this game. I'm able to pay attention to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I keep trying to smack the line with my head, and it's not working out.
Yeah, it is quite distracting. Once you start
Sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. But that's not quite enough to get the game to run because these debs are built and expecting a certain set of other libraries to be there. And so Snap provides a really cool function for that. And that is this bit here called stage packages. So stage packages is the libraries that the application expects to be there, which might or might not be there. Remember that a snap can be installed on different distros. I can't expect that the user has all of these things installed because they might not be running Ubuntu at all. They might be running Debian Stretch, for example, or they could be running Linux Mint or something else. So I can't expect that those will be in the archive, and I can't expect that they'll even be on the user's machine. So I bundle these into the snap.
Now, are these the dependencies? Is this a dependency of Love, or is it specific to the game? I mean, how'd you figure these out if this game is really just a blob?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked that. So it's really convenient because someone in the past has put Love2D in the Ubuntu archive, and there are debs of it that exist on the internet. I can go and look in the Debian control file and yank the dependencies from there. So if you were to, on an Ubuntu system, if you did actually do apt-get install love, you would get some of these libraries. And so I could get a good head start on which packages I need to add to my Sage packages by just going and looking at the Debian control file for the thing that had once been in the archive. And that gave me a good head start. Now, a couple of them were out of date. So like the libtheora or libog might be called libog in one version of Ubuntu. It might be called libog 1 or libog 2. So it's not perfect, because if you're looking at an old Debian control file, it might be appropriate for a previous LTS. So it's a good base, but you might need to fiddle it a little bit.
And there might be a couple missing that you hit with errors, and you just sort of try it a couple times. And
yes, exactly. Exactly that. There were a couple that for whatever reason weren't listed, and I just added them in when it complained that it crashed and couldn't find lib whatever. So I just added that to the list, rebuilt the snap, and it worked. So
yeah. I wondered if this was based on SDL. Okay, it looks like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well spotted. So that's good. That's and the good thing is, like, now people like myself and other people have made snaps, and we've figured out what the dependencies are for these applications. You don't have to worry, right? You don't have to go and figure out what dependencies are required for love, because I've already done this and I've put this on GitHub. So you can just copy this list and not have to worry about it.
Sorry to interrupt you a bit. Do you think it's possible for I've never used Love2D before, but is it possible for a Love application to need more than this? Or is this like, as soon as you satisfy the dependencies of Love, it will run any Love game?
I've not experienced any that needed anything else yet.
Okay.
But I'm not an experienced Love2D developer, so it's entirely possible that there might be a feature that I'm missing. I don't think so, but it's entirely plausible. Like in the future, there might be libraries that are used by some game that's using a bleeding edge version of Love2D that needs a library.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe they enable VR mode or something, and there's some library for that. I don't know, but these work for everyone I've tried so far. So the other thing that I needed to figure out was that many applications that work in the GUI require the environment to be set up correctly. And by correctly, I mean there's loads of environment variables that they expect. And what I did was I wrapped all those environment settings up in a script called launch OMG. Now, launch OMG, I can show you over here, is quite bulky, and I can't take any credit for this. I've stood on the shoulders of giants and stolen this script from other people who've made snaps before me. So they've figured out what all the libraries that are needed are, the environment variables are, and I've just basically stolen this from them. So this
looks like one of the desktop launchers. Is there a reason you're not using one of those?
Only because I wanted to iterate on it, and actually the desktop launchers, there was an environment variable missing that I had to add in. And I think that has been added into the desktop launcher now. So it's probable I could drop this and just use a desktop launcher now. Yes. There was the one that was missing was where is it? Config. Huh. Oh, it's not in this one. It's in another. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
I'll come back to that. It was in another Love2D game that I'm mixing them up. But yeah, it is possible that the desktop helpers will work for you, but it might be that you need to twiddle some extra things. So I think the only other thing I needed to do with that script was copy the launcher script into the snap. So that gets copied in as another part. So this is the fourth part now. So we've got one part, which is the game, two parts, which are the two devs, and the fourth part, which is this launcher. Now, the other thing we need to do is actually tell it how to run Oh My Giraffe. And we do that by having an apps section here. So there's one command for Oh My Giraffe, which is called Oh My Giraffe. So if I switch to a terminal and just type Oh My Giraffe, that command there will execute this. Is inside the snap once this snap is installed. So all I needed to do here was say oh my giraffe, and what that will do is run bin launch OMG, which we've already seen right down the bottom down here is this script, which is this script, right? So that will set all the environment up, and then right down the bottom, that runs love, and then the .love file. So technically, it's just a big wrapper around running love and the script.
Here is a question from IRC. Fagan says, so I presume it is shipping libgl. Wouldn't that run into issues with compatibility where newer versions of the lib are needed? Like, for instance, I have an AMD card and older versions of libgl don't see Radeon SI. Like, is there a way to ship the game and use the system libgl instead of the bundled one?
I think it does use the system libgl.
That's correct, it does. So the way it works is snap confine, which is the tool that actually sets up the environment for the application that is in the snap, will bind mount in the GL libraries from the system. Now, when you're on Ubuntu core, this is a little bit different. But I still think GL is shipped in either the kernel or the core snap. It's still not bundled in your snap.
Right. So yes, that was a worry I had, that I wanted to make sure that this would work on different GPUs, but I think someone else has thought hard about that problem and solved it already for me elsewhere, so I don't really have to worry about it. It might well be I could remove one or two of these libraries. I could do a review and strip out one or two of these and see if that works, and I might well do that. But this was what I did to get it working, and I could strip out afterwards. But yeah, good question. There's a couple of other things I did. I created a desktop file. So this is useful so that when you open the Unity launcher thing, you get an icon and it shows up in the menu for fast running. So you don't have to use the command line in order to run the application. And creating a desktop file is easy. You just plop it in I'm looking at the wrong one here, aren't I? Is that the right place? No. So it used to be that it lives in here in setup GUI, but I think we put it in somewhere else now. Snap GUI, I think is right, isn't it? Am I in the right direction?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so maybe I'm looking at the wrong version of this, but yeah, it should be, it either works, setup GUI or snap GUI. And it's pretty basic, name, comment, etc. The thing that's a bit different, and there's the execute line that says run oh my giraffe, which is what I typed in the terminal. This oh my giraffe is my executable, which remember maps to in the Snapcraft YAML launch OMG. Okay. So
Poppy, do you have this code in a GitHub repository or somewhere?
I have my template in GitHub, yes, and I can give you the link to that.
Yes,
it's actually really easy to find because if you go to github.com, oh my gosh, .com/popey/ I think it's love snap template. You can grab it from there.
Cool, thank you. I will paste it on the chat.
Is oh my giraffe not on there?
I don't think I've put it in there. No, I could put that on GitHub as well. Yeah, I will do. I'll do that after we finish this call.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, sounds like Fagan might be interested in poking around at the GL stuff.
Awesome. So the execute line is oh my giraffe. The only other thing we need is an icon, and I went and got the icon from the upstream developers website. I think I cropped it and resized it and plopped it in the same directory. And all you got to be careful about here is when you specify the icon, you put $squiggly snap squiggly, which is a variable that gets expanded up, meta GUI, and then the path to the image. So that's the image that I've used. And in the desktop file, it links to that. Hello, where did I go? There. And it links to that in the icon line. The rest of it is the usual kind of metadata that you get in a desktop file. Does that all make sense? Ish?
Yes, thanks a lot for showing like the internals.
So that was one. Do you want me to move on to? Actually, I could.
Why don't you show the game? Like, can you run it? And this is.
Yeah, I have. I've actually. It's been sat running the whole time.
This is probably the most common question from the chat. Is do you have
what does
tips?
it actually do?
How can we get better and not get eaten by the
lions? They're sleeping at the moment because it's nighttime, and then it becomes daytime.
Also, the key is to wait until nighttime.
And then run like to get a chain of, and then they're coming after you. You drop the things, and he kicks them and hit the lions in the face. So yeah, like that. It's very silly, but I love it. It's just exactly. I didn't want something like super complicated.
No, that's an excellent. Yeah, it's an excellent game snap, certainly, because it still hits all the right pieces of hardware without being insanely complex, and will run on everything, you know.
Yeah, and it's got audio, and you know it's easy to play, and you know it's a nice little game.
A stupid question.
Yep.
I noticed when I was playing with it that audio only played while it was in focus. Is that a snap thing, or is that specific to this game?
No, it's a Love 2D thing, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think they detect when the window's got focus and only play audio when it's got focus, which you know is useful if you're in a work environment.
yeah. No, it was handy. It just caught me. It caught me by surprise, and because this is actually the first snap I've used that uses audio, so I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what the deal was.
It threw me as well because I have I don't know if you probably haven't noticed it, but I use focus follows mouse. So if the mouse is outside the window, the sound goes off, which threw me when I was building it, and I thought,
oh man, I have a weird bug.
I think that's a great point. Like, you chose the perfect game to make a demo, but also to exercise all the things that we have been working on. This is still early stages for snaps and Snapcraft. And in here, I'm sure you found a couple of bugs that needed to be fixed, and we need to make the YAMLs a lot nicer for this to be a smooth experience. So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of space for people to contribute, and that's what justifies this hour that we are spending like working, because actually we can find a lot of things that need to be done after playing these games. So great choice.
So I've got another one. If you want me to move on to the next example, unless there's anyone who's got any more questions about OMG. In fact, I did discover a bug in this, in that it wouldn't save the high scores. When you get a really good score and you close the game and then open it again, it doesn't restore the game. And it was actually an environment variable that I think was where it was storing the high score table is somewhere in your home directory. But obviously in the Snappy world, the strictly confined application, or game in this case, has a different view of the world. And so the home directory is in a different place. And I think it was expecting the high score table to be in a particular place, and it was somewhere else. So I just had to set an environment variable, and that fixed that. So,
where do you save those then?
They do go in your Snap. So if I
Snap user data.
Snap. Oh my giraffe. So let me find my and it's a messy path.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could fix that. So there's my leaderboard. It's under. So this is the bit Snap. Oh my giraffe X2 is what the latest version of the Snap that I have installed will see as its home directory, I think, and it puts it under user share. This is a love path, user share love giraffe. So I could probably fix that and make that a little bit tidier. But I wasn't sure if I would need to recompile love to make that happen, and I didn't really want to go down that path.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Cool.
And that's a great story. I remember you telling me that somebody from the community found the problem, told you about it, then you fixed it, push the fix, and it was automatically updated for everybody everywhere.
Yeah, you can actually see that thread on OMG Ubuntu. Joey over at OMG Ubuntu wrote an article about this game being in the store, and one of the comments was, "Oh, it's not saving my high score table." So I had a quick look, figured out what it was. I then fixed it and asked somebody else to test it by me publishing the snap to the candidate channel in the store, so that the only person who would see that update was this one guy who reported it. And I told him, can you do a snap install OMG Ubuntu -- candidate? Told me it worked. And then I migrated it from the candidate channel to the stable channel in the store, and then everyone got the fixed version. But that was like minutes it took to turn that around. It took longer for me to build the snap on my laptop than it did for anyone else to get the update. It was like so seamless.
That's awesome.
You see, that's how you justify making games for work. Like, we can probably make games 8 hours a day, and we will be happy here.
Yeah, I've been doing this in my spare time. So should we look at the next one?
We actually have a quick question, Bobby.
Yep.
So Humble Beaver says, or is asking, will there be the inclusion of category in the YAML file at some point to better sort different application types? I know this is something you've been dealing with recently. I saw a chat on IRC the other day. I don't know if this will be a YAML specific thing, but I do expect the store side to get a little more robust as far as categories go. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. Not that I know enough about to talk authoritatively, should we say?
Yeah. Well, same here. Yeah, no one here is going to be able to answer that question with any authority, but I do expect that to improve. But I don't know that it will be. I don't know if it will be a build time thing, or when you put it in the store, you say this is, hopefully one or the other will happen.
Cool. So if I move on to another one, and I'll show you it, what I'll do is I'll start it building, and then hopefully we can live publish it to the store, because I have not published this next one at all. So that might be interesting to do for people to watch. So it's another game. It's also Love2D. And this one is called Boussard, and it's quite cool. I don't know if I still have it installed, actually, because I think I removed the snap. So it's also Love2D, but one of the differences with this snap is all the stuff is unpacked. You remember you asked earlier about whether it needs to be zipped up as a .love file or whether it can be unpacked. This one happens to be, look, all these files here that you see on my screen, all these .lua files, that makes up part of the game. And so it's not shipped as a .love file. You can just run it directly from here. So somewhere in here, there's a snap directory, and within that is my Snapcraft YAML. And there'll be some familiar parts, as always. Here's our metadata at the top about the game. It's an open source game. It's hosted on Bitbucket, I think, or GitLab, I think. And I've been speaking to the developer about this. And once I've finished this YAML, I'm going to contribute this upstream so that they can publish it themselves.
Awesome.
I did the same thing with Love2D. I published it in the store after talking to the upstream developer, because I think it's the right thing to do for us to contribute these YAMLs to upstream and let them be in control of their application rather than me publish it. I pushed it to the store only because the Oh My Giraffe developer was short on time, and he said, let's get back together in April. So I've published it and we'll get back together in April. For this one, I'm going to contribute it as an upstream pull request on his project. So there's some familiar things in here. I mean, it's built basically using the same template. So, confinement, strict, grade, stable, similar kind of plugs that need to be used. I'm also using a launcher script. Again, I'm using the Love2D debs that have been published online. Notice I've migrated to the dump plugin for this one now, because this was a month or two later. So again, 2 debs just get dumped straight into the snap. And the Bussard game itself is actually in the current directory. So again, I just do dump the current directory. And I don't have a separate part for the launcher because the launcher is in the current directory as well. It's right there in the source that I've dropped it in there. So it's
dumped along with everything else.
Exactly, because this whole directory of files gets dumped by that part. I don't need to bother doing it separately. But you can look at the launcher and you'll see it looks very familiar. And in fact, this one I also had a problem with that I mentioned earlier. Man, where is the thing? Hopefully this is the one that works. Here they are. They're right at the bottom. I had to add these two. And this foxed me for a while. I had to add these two for this game because Love2D has two different ways of getting keyboard input. There's one way of getting it if you're holding the key down, and there's another way of doing scan codes if you're typing, I think. I don't fully understand it, but I spoke to the developers and he said, yeah, it depends how you're getting input. And it turns out there's some weird esoteric X environment variables that you need to set. And so I've set them. Without those, some parts of the game don't work and don't accept keyboard input. So I had to add those into this launcher.
Oh, man. I can only imagine what a headache that must have been.
Right. Well, yeah. And I filed a bug, actually. You'll find there's an issue that I recorded on the upstream project saying, hey, your thing is broken in snaps. I wonder if you're doing something weird with the keyboard. And he was like, nope, I'm not. But
something else is.
Yeah. So then I went and spoke to the Love2D developers, and they said, I don't know what's going on there. And they explained the whole two different ways of getting keyboard input. So then I kind of put it on the back burner for a while because it was a private, like personal time project, and I didn't want to spend too long on it. And then someone else on the mailing list, on the Snapcraft mailing list, mentioned that they were having problems with keyboard input in a completely different application. And they mentioned these two environment variables on the Snapcraft list. And I thought, that sounds familiar from Bussard. So I added them in, and sure enough, it works. And there's very few hits on Google for these two environment variables.
Yeah.
So
boy, no, I mean, I've never seen either of them. Yeah.
Right. So I don't feel particularly bad that I couldn't find them. So what I'll do is actually, there's no snap in this directory. I don't have a snap to install. And I could just run Snapcraft. And if I do that right now, it'll start building the snap. Now it's going off to get some stuff from the archive, because remember in my Snapcraft YAML, I had some stage packages which get pulled from the Ubuntu archive. So it's going off to the archive to get some packages, and it should hopefully install those in a bit. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill it, because I want to show you a different way of using Snapcraft, because I don't think you've demoed this before. I have a remote host called Colossus on my network, and I'm going to build on that remote host, not on my local PC. And I'll just kick it off and then tell you how it works. So what I'm doing there is Snapcraft clean build. Now clean build is really, really cool, because clean build will do Snapcraft but inside an LXD container. And by doing it inside an LXD container, you can make sure that you're building cleanly and your build isn't polluted by anything that's on your laptop. And that's really helpful. I've found sometimes I will snap something and then it runs fine on my machine because of some weirdness with my machine that got included in the build, but it doesn't work on somebody else's machine. By doing a clean build, I can ensure that it's absolutely, a pristine machine that it's being built on. With the added option of -- remote, it does it on another machine. So that means that if this is like a super intensive process of building this application, I mean, it's not, because it's a very simple game. But if it was a super intensive process, then I could farm it off to another machine and not have my laptop, like CPU and battery, being eaten up by this thing building. So what it's doing at the moment is copying the contents of this directory that contains the game and the assets and the YAML file and everything else, over to my remote server. I mean, it's not that remote. It's about 3 feet away from me, but it's, you know, it's remote enough to be not this laptop. It's copying across to another machine. And then what it's going to do is build it inside that LXD container. Now, it's not the fastest machine in the world. It's not like I'm going to get this done much quicker doing it over there than doing it over here, but it's a really cool feature, and it could be faster. If your laptop is a little bit constrained, that might be a really useful thing to do, to be able to build on a remote machine that you know is much faster, or has like more RAM, or, you know, more cores, or lots of disk space for building big projects. So that might be a useful thing to do. Snapcraft clean build -- remote, and then remote server. It takes a little bit of setting up. You've got to have LXD running on the remote host. I think there is a guide to setting this up. But I can't remember. I think it was, you can see I've visited some pages. I think it was Stefan Graeber's post that I looked at that detailed how to do this.
It's great you're showing this, because next week we will have Stefan as a guest, and he will be talking about LXD. So he will go through more details about this.
Sweet.
And
so I don't need to. Good. So yeah, I basically copied this. So you see here it says on the server. So on my remote box Colossus, I did this in order to you know, make LXD appear on the network, and then I did this with a password, and then on my client I then added the remote host and typed my password in. I just followed this guide basically. I blindly copied and pasted, because I trust Stefan. Blindly copy and pasted those onto the onto my server and on my client. And now whenever I do -- remote Colossus, it knows Colossus is the box in the other room that that does the building.
That's awesome. I haven't messed with this either, actually, so it's good to see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's now, you know, downloading all the necessary packages. It is taking a little while to do, but if you have any questions, or there's any questions on IRC, now's a good time to ask them while this thing is building.
We don't have any questions on IRC, but I was wondering if you had played with some other frameworks in addition to Love2D.
So there's a couple of other things that I looked at. One was Unity 3D. So I'm sure everyone has heard of Unity 3D, especially if you're a
gamer geek.
Big gamer geek, then you'll have known that this thing exists. There is actually a Linux build of Unity 3D, so you can run Unity 3D on your Ubuntu machine and make games, but you still then have the problem of how do you distribute those games. And I thought, wouldn't it be good if you could distribute games, Unity 3D games, as a snap? Now they have plugins in Unity 3D that lets you export out games for Windows, Mac, Linux, and all kinds of other platforms. But I wanted to see how easy it would be to like snap those things. And also I wanted to know a little bit about the internals of Snapcraft. So what I did was, for a demo, I did a talk recently. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so I made a little game by following a demo. Okay, I used Unity 3D to build a game. I built it for Linux. So when you run it, all it does is it. There's the Unity splash screen, so that proves that's a Unity game. And all it does is make a little like person that you can like walk around and fire weapons at each other, and it spins up a server so multiple people can like join it. And I just use this as a you know a template game that I could play with, and I wanted to know how I could make that a snap. And I thought I could use Snapcraft, but I actually thought I'd try doing something a bit different. And so what I did was I made a snap out of that game, but not using Snapcraft. I used this MK Squash FS. So
you wrote the metadata directly?
Right. I use this. Yes, actually, that's a good point. I'll mention that. I use make squashfs because a snap is a squashfs file, and I pointed at the directory that contains my game, told it the name of the snap and the various parameters, and there's only a tiny bit of metadata that's needed in there, called snap.yaml.
Yeah, so it is. I don't. This is probably the first time people have seen this. This is. It is important to note that snaps and Snapcraft, right, are two obviously different things. Snapcraft exists to help you put multiple parts into a snap, but like Hope is showing here, you don't need it. You can just write the metadata that Snapcraft writes, and that's what makes a specific squashfs image a snap.
Right. So this is like kind of like advanced, creating of
deep
a snap.
Plumbing. Yeah.
Yeah. And in order to make it work, I had to manually put the libraries in there. So this is like totally not an easy, straightforward thing to do, because I manually went and got all these libraries. And you compare this with how Snapcraft does it. When I did the Love 2D, all I did was just list in stage packages all of the libraries that I wanted by the Debian package names. With this one, I had to go and find all the individual library files. So this shows you just how much work Snapcraft does for you to build a snap, but also illustrates exactly what's inside a snap is like the fundamental libraries, a bit of YAML, and your application. But I just wanted to show that because, well, it also passes a little bit of time while we wait for, oh, look, Sard has finished building. So remember, I was doing this on my remote host, Colossus. It's now finished building and copied it back over the network to my local machine. So I should now have a snap of this. I could try installing this and see if it works, right? That's the first step. Now I need the dangerous flag because it's not a signed package. I'm side loading it. I should do it. Okay, so it's installed. So if I just type Bussard and hit enter, oh, we're missing a library.
Almost.
So close.
Yeah.
Missing.
But I want to play, so will you push it to the store after adding the library? Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I need to. Oh man, it looks like I'm missing a library. How did I miss that? So which one was I missing? It's libluagit, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right. Fix this right now. Do we have time for me to fix it right now?
Yeah, we got time. Go for it.
So if we go back to my Oh My Giraffe snap, you'll remember there's that.
You cheater.
Yep. So here's what we do.
I thought that list looked a little small.
Yeah. Bing. There we go. So I'm just going to yank from the other one and put it into Bussard. Now what I'll do is instead of building it remotely, I'll build it locally because it'll be faster. My laptop's faster than my server.
This is great. Like, you showed how to find the bug, how to fix it, and how to iterate.
Well, and let's pretend you didn't have that list. What would you have done? So I would have used apt file using that library, figure out what package it was actually in, and then staged that.
I would have done this. I would have gone to packages.ubuntu.com and then
searched for it.
Scroll down and said, okay, what package contains that file? And I would probably have changed this to Xenial and said search. And it would have said, you need libluagit, which is exactly what we added. So
nice.
Well,
yeah,
I would have gone to the developer website and checked the install instructions, and they usually list what do you need to run this in Ubuntu. So actually making a snap is really simple. You have to translate the instructions they have on their wikis and documentation into a YAML file. That's basically what snapping is.
Or I would have gone to my template and figured out what I'm missing. I've not got them there either, so that's interesting. Maybe the template doesn't work. Right, is it finished?
Hey, while that's going, I just wanted to throw out a quick recommendation that McPhail here mentioned. Instead of doing make squash.fs directly, you can just call snapcraft snap directory, and it'll call make squash.fs with the right flags for you, so you don't need to remember them.
Good call. Good call. Oh, my poor little laptop.
And that doesn't go through any of the life cycle or anything. It literally just calls make squash.fs.
Right. So if I'm just sat in the directory above where the stuff is, I can just write snapcraft snap and then
wherever,
or Linux in your case, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you mentioned that's a lot harder than making the YAML. Well, that's true, but sometimes you already have that work done. Like you packaged for a different kind of thing, and you have all the libraries ready sitting there. You can turn that into an installable snap and push it to the store with only one command.
There you go.
Hey, nice.
Cool. So it's a kind of space thing, but it's a lot deeper than just like flying around in space. If you press Control Enter, you can actually enter commands in here to control the ship, and you actually program the ship.
Type man.
Yeah, exactly. It's a game that has man pages. It's awesome.
Very nice.
So, yeah, it's a cool game, and I wanted to package it for that.
Man pages don't use Markdown. Come on.
This is the thing that didn't work. It now works with those two wacky X environment variables.
So what's the ship? The ship is the red triangle.
Yeah, the red triangle thing.
Okay.
So what were we going to do? We were going to push this to the store, weren't we? So
yes,
what do I need to do? Snapcraft has a list of command line options, and one of the things I can do is register. There we go. Register. So I need to register the name in the store before I can push it to the store. So Snapcraft register. It's hard, right? Oh, I already own that. I've clearly done this demo before. But if I didn't own that name, then it would request that name for me. Now, some names are already reserved, like, you'd expect names from popular branded products to already be registered because we want the upstream developers to be managing those. If you are a contributor to that project, then you can dispute it. You can fill in, you get given a link to a form. You just fill it in and say, actually, I work on that project. And we read that, and then we can release the name to you, to your account. But we try to do this so that we don't get lots of random people uploading packages that look official but aren't. We want people to be able to trust the packages that came from the upstream developer, and also know that the upstream developer is going to take ownership of them and continue to maintain them and push new versions to the store, because we don't want old crufty versions of stuff in the store. We want this to be up-to-date packages maintained securely by the upstream developer. So that's why we have this whole registration process. So what do I need to do now? I need to push it. Draft. Is it push, I think?
Yep. And you can do -- release there if you want to immediately put it into a channel. Otherwise, it doesn't put it anywhere.
So I need to specify the snap name and then -- release.
Mm-hmm. And then a comma separated list of channels.
Whoops. Sorry. So I'll put it in Edge for now. So that might take a little while. So just to take a step back, I'm pushing a snap into the Snappy store. It's going to go into the Edge channel. So anyone in a few minutes, once this has gone through the validation process, because every package gets validated in the store. Once it's been validated, anyone watching this can do snap install Bussard -- Edge. Later, once we've done a little bit of testing, I could push it to the stable channel, and then you would just do snap install Bussard, or you might even be able to see it in GNOME software, and you wouldn't have to do the -- Edge. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. No, you're right on point there.
I want to show a little thing here.
We've got to fix that stupid progress bug that has annoyed me for far too long.
See how to
What,
show
the fact that it's done a second line?
Yeah, it drives me crazy.
Is that because I've made the font too big, or is it just?
No, it happens all the time. I have no idea why.
Do you want me to file a bug after the?
Oh, I believe we have one. We just, at least I have no idea why it's happening.
It's just not top of the list.
Exactly. It's just a UI thing. We got to dig into it.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so Poppy mentioned about registering names and about trusting developers. That's a really important part of Snaps. So when you do snap find and search for something, or snap list to see what you have installed, you will see who's the publisher, and you can decide if you trust him or not. But snaps are pretty confined, so the trust you have to give them is not a lot, and it's always controlled by you. Like you can give this developer trust to access X11, but at the point you want to remove that trust, you can disconnect the plug that you gave him. So I wanted to quickly mention this one because this is my favorite game, Zero AD, and there's a snap for it. It will take a long time to install because it's a really big game, but I encourage you to try it. Sudo snap install play Zero AD, and you will notice here that it's the alpha version. It's not the same version that's published on the Ubuntu archives. It's earlier than that, and by playing this game, you will be actually helping the developers because you will find some issues on the unstable things that they are releasing on this alpha version.
Yeah, it's basically an open source Age of Empires. If you're wondering what that is, it's one of my wife's favorite games, so we play that together.
I love it. And also there's a funny thing in here. We have been filling the Ubuntu store with some nice things that we find on the internet. So there's one called Vocal Spring. So let me see if you can hear it. When I start Vocal Spring, then every time I type, I make a really loud noise. This is becoming one of my favorite games too. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah. It is my least favorite snap.
So has it finished? Oh no! There was a proxy error when uploading.
Oh, store error. Well, try again.
Oh, do I have to try it again?
That's a good question. Actually, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it just failed to release. Maybe it uploaded.
Oh, it looks like it did.
Ah, nice.
It's lying. So yes, it is in the store, and it is in the Edge channel. Look at that. Oh, look, it's not released. So if I release it to the Edge channel, and once we've tested it, I can go bop like that and hit release. So now it's in stable, candidate, beta, and Edge. And if someone does snap install Bussard, in theory, it should download the snap.
I'm installing it. Yeah. Thank you very much. I will be playing with it. Yeah.
If I remove my local snap.
So you just pushed revision 3, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I'm pulling too. And it's probably important to note that is AMD 64 only.
Yes, at the moment it's AMD 64 only, but what I will do is probably hook this up to Launchpad and build it on the Launchpad builders for ARM-HF, maybe.
Yeah,
and
i386 certainly.
i386 certainly.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Will you have to? I know you're currently just dumping essentially tarballs for Love 2D. Will you have to change that per architecture, or is that going to work?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with Lua, so.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky thing. Let me get rid of this sharing thing, and I'll come back to you. So, yeah, at the moment, my YAML has the debs directly linked, and I think what I need to do is do something a little bit more interesting. And I haven't figured out how to do that yet, so that it can determine what the architecture is and pull the right deb at the right time. The flip side is what I could do is build Love2D from source when you build it. And I'm not sure which one of those would be the best one, because building Love2D from source is like a little bit overkill, I think.
I'm getting a love command not found from launch Bussard.
No, do I need to fix this?
Almost done installing it.
Oh, that Costa Rican internet. Yeah, I'm surprised you're still here.
Yeah.
All right. So what I need to do is remove it from the store.
Well, it's the Edge channel, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I'll remove it from the stable channel. Interesting. Okay. Well, I need to fix that. So I'll fix that and publish it immediately after we finish this.
Okay. Well, we'll be waiting for that. Because, yeah. Otherwise, I will have nothing to play during the weekend. We are already over the hour. Do you have something else you wanted to tell us, Alan?
No, I think that was everything. I've got loads of things to fix now. but that, I think the thing that I would really like to see is people trying to package up different things, not just like the Love2D stuff, because we can do that. But if you look at other game engines that people have, or frameworks,
I want to see an ogre game.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And other stuff, that would be really awesome.
Great. So thanks a lot for joining us, and thanks for this great explanation. Like you went from scratch explaining everything. I loved it.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Very much. Okay, so next week, the same time, we will have Stefan Graber from the LexD team. He will be talking about Linux containers. And well, this is great because as Poppy showed, we can use containers for a lot of things, like building snaps, but also trying snaps. And they are a clean and safe environment where you can do whatever you want. If you break it, you will not harm your machine. So wait for the announcement next week. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you later.
All right, guys. See you.